All right, this is not your typical top 10 fastest yada yada. This is my story. The story of my first car with a twist. Show some love here. This is my baby. When I was in my early teens, I started getting very interested in cars. I was always helping my dad fix whatever issue our Broncos had at the time. My dream car was an early model Mustang. I did not have a particular year that I wanted, but I knew that is what I had to get my hands on. I told my parents over and over, and I would always take a look through Auto Trader. Remember, it used to be a paper, not another website on the internet. That was not a thing back then. I started saving up, but my parents kept telling me to not get my hopes up because the insurance would be way too high for this. At some point, I actually gave in and just thought I would try to buy a truck. When you're 15 years old, your first car doesn't feel like a machine. It feels like a destiny. And mine didn't roll into my life with a dramatic reveal or some movie-style moment. It arrived on the back of a flatbed tow truck, half dead, leaking everything it could leak, and still, I thought it was the greatest thing I had ever seen. A 1967 Mustang coupe. Faded paint, a 289 that didn't even pretend to run. The carburetor was rotted, the heads were trashed, and the whole engine was hours away from becoming a permanent lawn ornament. But when you're 15, you don't care about logistics. You care about the dream. And I swore I was going to bring this car back to life even if I had no idea how much life it was going to take out of me in return. Back then, it was little victories. Rebuilding the carburetor, then realizing the heads needed a full machine job, then realizing the entire engine needed a complete rebuild. It was the kind of project where every solved problem revealed 5 new ones hiding behind it. But it didn't matter. This was my first car. My project, my identity. And then, life happened. Years passed. The Mustang stayed behind at my parents' house, untouched, collecting dust and rust, turning into this quiet reminder of the kid I was and the dream I never finished. Fast forward, a couple years ago, I finally said enough. I was bringing the Mustang home. I didn't care what shape it was in. And the second I got a look at it, reality hit me like a sack of bricks. The engine was completely seized. Not stuck, seized. The fuel lines were corroded from end to end. The radiator was a paperweight. And everything that could rust had rusted. But I wasn't 15 anymore. I had the tools, the experience, and the stubbornness of an adult who hates being defeated by metal. So I made a decision. Instead of resurrecting the old power plant one last time, I dropped in a brand new Blueprint Engines 302 crate motor. Clean, crisp, full of promise, something worthy of the second life this car deserved. New fuel lines, new radiator, new fuel tank. With the newfound power, I made the decision to put in disc brakes and toss the old drum. Still wishing I had put in power steering during this time, but I have time to do it at a later date. That's the moment the project stopped being a fix-it project and started becoming a full resto mod. A slow one, sure, but still, this rebuilding the Mustang wasn't nostalgia anymore. It was something that was laying heavy on my heart and needed to do. And then came the part every old car owner knows too well, the strip down. I am lucky that the body only has surface rust, nothing too bad, but the interior is where the majority of my attention needs to focus. I started cutting the carpet out and noticed the passenger side floorboard is Swiss cheese, partially due to the leak that was in my heater coil and partially due to the cowl issue that is rampant in Mustangs. Luckily, I have already purchased a replacement floorboard panel from CJ Pony. Just need a welder who is handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. But here's the thing nobody tells you about restoring a classic car without a separate garage that is just for working on cars. It's not the rust, it's not the parts hunt, It's not the stubborn bolts that have fused into the car like they took a blood oath. It's the clutter. There was a point in this build that my Mustang had stopped being a car and had turned into a table, a damn storage shelf. Boxes, tools, parts, my kids' Legos, and whatever else she used to be interested in. Just random life junk. Everything somehow ended up sitting on the Mustang. You tell yourself it's temporary. You tell yourself you'll clean it up next weekend, and then suddenly your car looks like it's holding a garage sale, and probably should. And that's exactly where today's sponsor comes in, because I finally fixed that problem. The garage has been my tormentor. I look at it and just close the door because of how jacked up it is. But I realized something. If I wanted to finish this car, truly finish it, I needed to treat the garage like a workspace instead of a junkyard. And the only reason I didn't fix that earlier is because I didn't have the right storage setup. Then Flexamounts reached out. And honestly, it was perfect timing. I installed their 2-tiered overhead storage rack, and this thing is a lifesaver. You don't realize how much vertical space you're wasting in your garage until you get one of these up. I modified it to make it work perfectly in my garage, and I was amazed at how you can manipulate it to meet your needs. It's 8 feet by 3 feet, but I did not need that with the next unit they sent. And it's not some flimsy setup either. This thing is solid. You mount it into the ceiling joists, lock everything in, and it's rock steady. I did add some extra 2x4s in my attic to make sure that it was not going down before the house would collapse. I would say that's probably overkill, but I'd rather prep it too much than not enough. The parts supplied were perfect, and there were lag bolts and anchors if you could not find a stud. Everything was solid, bolts and lock nuts. They really put some effort into this piece. I also installed their 5-tiered shelving unit, and that became the new home for the stuff I reach for all the time. Fluids, detail supplies, tools, paint for the interior, and parts that are waiting to go on the car. It's steel, it's sturdy, and more importantly, it keeps everything off the Mustang. No more piling things on the roof, no more boxes on the hood, no more parts sitting on top of parts. And this thing was a breeze to put together. I believe it took roughly 30 minutes to put together. Luckily, my daughter was around to help hold the legs while I put everything together. I would say, out of all the shelving units I have put together, this was definitely the easiest. Highly recommend. The moment all that clutter moved to real storage, the garage transformed. The Mustang went from the world's most expensive table to actually being the project again. I finally had space to move, space to work, and space to think. I actually enjoy going into the garage now. If you're like me, sometimes you just go in your garage and just look and smile. And that's why Flexamounts genuinely fit into this story, because restoring a classic car isn't just about torque specs and paint codes, it's about creating a space that lets you actually finish the job. A place where motivation isn't buried under a pile of your own disorganization. This setup forced me to respect the build again. Now I can actually get back to replacing that floor pan without stepping over 30 boxes. I can finally start mocking up interior pieces, measuring trim placements, and planning out the next wave of upgrades. And most importantly, the Mustang looks like a car again, not a shelf. So yeah, if you're like me and your project car keeps turning into your dumping ground, check out Flexamounts. Their overhead storage and shelving basically reset my garage and gave this build its momentum back. I'll link everything below so you can grab the exact setups I used. I must tell you this, make sure that you have someone help you. I did it on my own, and probably not the best idea to be balancing shelves on my shoulder while on a ladder and trying to mark spots to drill. Luckily, I came out with a couple dings. As for the Mustang, this is just the beginning of the second chapter. The new engine is in, the new lines are in, disc brakes, radiator, the whole cooling system sorted. The teardown has officially started, and when that floor pan goes in, this build shifts into a different gear. It's not just a rescue anymore, it's a rebirth. I've had this car since I was 15. It survived moves, bad decisions, neglect, time, and every mechanical failure a Mustang can throw at you. And somehow, after all these years, it's still here. And I'm finally giving it the restoration it deserved from day one. Have a question for all of you. How do you remove the haze from a windshield? Am I dead in the water, or is there hope? I've tried every sort of scrub or polish out there. Please give me some ideas, or should I just buy new glass for the whole thing? So, stick around. This Mustang has a lot of story left in it. And now that my garage isn't trying to bury it alive, we're actually going to finish this thing. And let me know if you still have your first car. And even if you don't, I want to know about your first.